Hello, my darlings, and welcome back to Conversations with My Higher Self. Today, I have a very special topic. I wanted to talk to you about teeth from the spiritual perspective, from the energy perspective, teeth as it relates to some of the deeper wisdom and as it relates to your ancestry line, actually. But before we dive deeper into the topic, a couple of housekeeping items. I wholeheartedly invite you to come and meditate with me. I have another podcast called Our Sacred Universe. It is a heart-led space. It is a space of healing. I try to upload meditations there all the time, every week. And it is just a beautiful space where we can come together and heal together. And so I hope you can join us. And then secondarily, if you haven't checked out my book, I have a book. It's called 72 Keys to Manifestation, or An Ancient Path of a Modern Day Alchemist. It's a magical book. It is available on Amazon and on Audible in an audio format. And it is, of course, channeled like a lot of things that I do. And it has to do with creating a best life. And it has both very practical meditations and exercises, as well as a lot of theoretical advice and a lot of ancient keys around unlocking your abundance, around aligning with the energies that can really help propel you into your best future yet. And so I invite you to join me in the book format as well if you haven't already. Alrighty, my loves, let's talk about teeth without further ado. At face value, it seems like teeth is such a mundane topic. Like, why would we even talk about teeth? On the other hand, teeth, as far as aches, human aches are concerned, toothaches are not only very prevalent on planet Earth. You guys really hate dentistry. You guys really hate going to the dentist. And I just figured, why not address the topic of teeth? Because there's so much more to this subject that meets the eye. And it seems like teeth are these little kind of like bone structures that enable you to chew on things and, enable your digestion process. But if that is probably like just scratching the very, very surface of the purpose of teeth. There are so many correspondences within your life and even the different organs within your body. So the different teeth are connected to different organs. But that is not where I was going with this episode, and not where I want to take you today. So fundamentally, if we were to take the bigger picture approach, you would know that the number one thing that your teeth are connected to are your ancestors. In fact, I would go as far as saying that your teeth are doorways into your ancestry lines. They are the behind the scenes look at how your ancestry lines lived, and potentially even the karmic knots that are very present in each of your lineages. In the days of the old, and when I say the old, I really mean during Atlantis, you had a specific form of divination that had to do with teeth, actually, in the same way that you have palmistry that is still alive today, whereby looking at the lines of somebody's palm, people who study palmistry can tell the future, and it's kind of almost like having a natal chart on the palm of your hands. The same thing can be said about your teeth. So there used to be practitioners, there used to be people that could read people's fortunes based on teeth, and they can look at their entire karmic system of their karmic knots just by looking at their teeth. I think that in today's society, subconsciously, that knowledge, that understanding is still alive. And I don't know if you guys, how aware you are of this, but very often when you are selecting a significant other, you do pay attention to their teeth. We associate people with good, beautiful, even teeth. We associate that with beauty. This is supposed to be very beautiful, right? This is one of the ways that we know that somebody's beautiful. That is why you have the Hollywood smile. That is why you have a whole subset of cosmetic dentistry, all geared towards fixing the teeth problem, right? Making sure that they look picture perfect. Now, at the same time, once those veneers come on, once the fake Hollywood smile comes on, what becomes really, really hard to tell is anything about a person's lineage. And so it becomes extremely hard to find perfect pairings, right? Like, so in the dating game, people that have veneers are able to date up, if that makes sense, right? Because usually, and I don't know if we're getting too much into the dating game, but I'll promise I'll bring this home for you guys. Very often, right, the best couples and the couples that are meant to be together are very similar if you think about it. And you would, if you look at the best couples in your life that you know, and you can tell that they're almost similar, but they're similar according to like multiple parameters. They're similar based on, you know, their education may be similar, their looks, like they're of the similar, like they're like, if we were to measure looks, they would be on a very similar level in terms of looks. They have very similar values, they have very similar aspirations, and, you know, they have very similar energies, right? So very often, like, you know, if you're a spiritual person, you're going to attract a spiritual person. So when you're scanning your surroundings, right, looking for a significant other, we're looking for similarities. And like I said, very subconsciously, one of the ways that we do that is through looking at somebody's teeth, because subconsciously our bodies still remember what it means, like the shape of the teeth, whether you have gaps in between teeth or whether they're very, you know, very close together, what that means, et cetera, et cetera. So we read it just as well subconsciously as we read body language. So what happens in the dating game when somebody has veneers, right? Veneers obviously are like picture perfect smile. They have no semblance and they no longer pass karmic information, lineage information. So that's why I'm saying that somebody who has veneers, it's very easy for them to date up, right? Because it's easier for them to essentially hide some of the lesser kosher things about their lineage and kind of like showcase this picture perfect smile and find a partner with a picture perfect smile, whether that is a fake or the real one. So going back to teeth though, and maybe a little bit more of what it means. So as far as your body is concerned, teeth is probably, of all the different organs, it's probably one of those parts of your body that is most connected to your ancestors or most outwardly connected to your ancestors. We can dive a little bit deeper. So your upper jaw, usually all the teeth on your upper jaw are connected to the your father's side of the lineage. So the upper jaw, think of it as the sky, right? The top, that is usually connected to the masculine principle, right? So that would be connected to your father's lineage, or lineages rather, right? Because there are two in your father, on the father's side of the family, his mother's line and his father's line. So that would be your top jaw. Your bottom jaw is your mother's side of the lineage. That is, you know, if the upper jaw is the sky connection or the masculine, the lower jaw is the earth connection or the feminine. Again, both of your mother's sides of the lineage, on her mom's side and on her dad's side, are going to be represented by your bottom teeth. Collectively, right, both of these, or shall I say all four of these lineages, come together to form one you, and that is how they ended up in your mouth. So very often, right, you can tell a lot by the quality of somebody's teeth. You can tell a lot about their relationships with their family, within their family. You can tell a lot about whether this lineage is a strong or a weak lineage. So for example, and maybe let me start giving you some examples. If you look at somebody and their natural smile, you feel like it's a beautiful smile, or the teeth are pretty. So like if you would describe the teeth as pretty, this is usually the sign of the strength of the lineage. What do I mean by the strength of the lineage? The strength of the lineage is usually it's longevity. Meaning, like, is it an older lineage of planet Earth? Is it a newer lineage, right? So very often older lineages that have a lot more power, that have a lot more aggregated energy and aggregated energy reserves, they're going to have people in the lineage with beautiful teeth, naturally beautiful. By the way, beautiful doesn't mean perfectly aligned. It would just like their shape of the tooth is going to feel very pretty to you. Usually slightly elongated teeth as opposed to squished out and smaller teeth talk about and show and denote like either an older lineage, a mightier lineage. It's almost like the nobility, right? And nobility, maybe, I don't know if that makes sense to you, but if you look at the lineages that all exist, like the different family lines, all the family trees that exist on planet Earth, there are the ones that are considered spiritual nobility, not actual nobility here on planet Earth. Like you guys would consider somebody to be royalty, you would have somebody that is, you would consider to be aristocracy. If you look at lineages from the spiritual perspective, there is a demarcation and delineation as well. There are some lineages that are considered to be spiritual nobility because the amount of light that they're able to hold within their depth is quite significant. And so very often a lot of light workers would come through these lineages, saints, if we're talking about, the days of the old, people who are like devoted, religious leaders or ministers, preachers, like all of those kind of like, let's call them, I guess, overall light workers. They would be considered like your spiritual nobility. Those lineages usually have people with very beautiful elongated teeth. And that would be, so what you guys would consider beautiful is actually the strength of the lineage as far as it relates to the teeth. On the flip side, if you have teeth that are not very well aligned, now they may be perfectly white, but they're misaligned. There's a lot of misalignment. You're gonna have to watch which teeth are misaligned, but usually the teeth that are very even, like evenly located, this is a very cohesive lineage, meaning there are not a lot of fights within the lineage, not a lot of fights within the family. The family sticks very close together. They're rooting for each other, and they're acting as one organism if the teeth are aligned. If your teeth are a little bit like, it's almost like they're twisted a little bit around their central axis and they don't perfectly like fit, meaning like if you need to align them, like use Invisalign or something, like where your teeth are not perfectly straight, that is usually the sign that the lineage has karmic issues or karmic knots. There are many different facets, and unfortunately in the constraints of this episode, we cannot quite go over exactly what kind of teeth and what kind of patterns in teeth show what kind of karmic knots. But usually lineages that are considered problematic would have teeth that are not perfectly aligned. Problematic could be like, okay, like there is some, people in the lineage with a lot of poverty, people in the lineage that experienced, trouble with the alcohol or smoking, people in the lineage that had trouble with, suicides, people in the lineage that had trouble around like the divorce and like leaving your partner and like leaving the children. All of those things would be signifiers of like karmic issues within the lineage. And very often those teeth are not going to be aligned. One thing that you may find really curious, especially if you don't have if you still have your kind of like natural teeth intact, I think you're going to find it really fascinating after this episode to just come and examine your teeth to understand what you can tell based on the state of your teeth about your lineage. Because again, like it's like a painting. And if you know how to read the signs and if you understand how to read through the lines a little bit, understand all the strokes, it is quite telling. One thing that you may not have noticed is that your teeth are not created equal. And in fact, there are 4 major parts of your mouth, right? Each representing a very different lineage. So here's how you should think about that. Remember how the top jaw, the upper jaw that you in your mouth is your father's side, and the bottom jaw, the lower jaw, is your mom's side. If you split everything in the middle, your left side is always the feminine, right? And your right side is the masculine. So essentially, if you look at the top jaw, there are 2 lineages there. On the right side of your top jaw, you're gonna have your grandpa's lineage on your father's side, right? So essentially your father's father. And on the left side, you're gonna get your father's mother's side of the lineage, if that makes sense. And on the bottom, you have the same thing only in reverse, right? Meaning, if you were to split your jaw along the center, right? In between the 2 front and incisor teeth, right? Just if you were to split it, so you have half and half of your face on the bottom side, right? On the right side of your jaw, you would get the lineage from your mother's father's side. So your grandpa on your mom's side. And on the left side of the lineage, you're going to get the lineage from your mother's mother's side, meaning your grandma's side on your mom's side. You would notice that it's almost like, up until right now, you may have thought that you just have one jaw, meaning like not one jaw, like one mouth, and things in it are kind of cohesive and coherent. Could not be further from the truth. If you realize that it's actually 4 separate lineages in one mouth, examine like where your teeth are the healthiest, where are they the most even, where are they the whitest, where are they the least crooked, where are they the most aligned. And these are going to be your healthiest lineages. And you are going to be surprised, like around how uneven your mouth is. And very often, if some of you have crooked teeth, it's going to be on one side, on one side of your face, and then the rest of your teeth may be fine. And that is your problematic lineage, right? Fascinating once you actually get to study your own mouths. However, there is more to this whole conundrum than just understanding the connections, right? In other words, we can go deeper, and we probably should go a little bit deeper. Some of you I know, right? Despite the fact that I'm sure your grandparents, and some of you have, your great grandparents, but in today's society, we really don't know our lineages very well. In the past, there were times during the history of humanity where records were very well kept. And because of that, people used to study their lineages. People used to study their ancestry. Like, they used to know the names, they used to know the marital status, they used to know the strength, like the special skills and talents of each person in the lineage. And they used to stay very, very connected. Now we are very disconnected from our lineages, enough so that we don't even know where are the blessings and where are the curses that our lineages have. And even fewer people are even thinking that they are this part of like the four intertwining trees almost, right? We kind of think of our ancestors almost as just this amorphous group of people that somehow passed on their gene pool to us, but it goes so much deeper than that. When you get a toothache, you guys, it's not random. When you get a root canal, it's not random. Our teeth are carriers of karmic knots of our lineage, right? That is why good teeth and bad teeth run in the family. So if your parents are having issues with the teeth, and they're just struggling and they go to the dentist all the time, chances are, unless you do some really serious, deep lineage work, at some point in your life, you are going to have the same teeth as your parents do. Because again, you guys share ancestry lines, right? And because of that, there are a lot of similarities. There are families with really good teeth, and that means families with really good karma. And there are families with very bad teeth, and that means families with very bad karma. I feel very often when the topic of teeth is being discussed, what is discussed and what is believed, right? That there are certain things that impact your teeth quality, if you will. And there are certain things that you're supposed to do in order to preserve your teeth longevity. For instance, like flossing and, brushing your teeth twice a day and, not eating sugary, sweet things, right? All of these things are supposed to, there are things that we know are damaging to our teeth. However, I'll tell you this, if your karma, if the karma of your lineage is heavy, you can floss all day, every day. You can brush your teeth. You can be extremely scrupulous when you're brushing your teeth, and you're still going to have root canals. You're still going to have issues. And then somebody on the other side with a lineage that has a really, really good karma may not, even do the basic hygiene things, and their teeth are going to be fine they're barely going to have a root canal ever, in their lives, right? And again, it is because it is so connected to karma. In other words, if you are getting a cavity, or if you're, if you have a toothache, please understand that it goes so much deeper than, how you take care of your teeth. How you take care of your teeth is kind of like at face value. Yes, you have to brush your teeth. Obviously, I'm not advocating otherwise. However, if you're just trying to fix your teeth and trying to get less cavities by literally fixing the physicality of how you deal with, with your mouth, and maybe buying a better toothpaste, you're going to fail. In other words, it's really, really hard to make any meaningful changes around your mouth area unless you do some serious cleanup of your lineage and of the dark karma of your lineage, whatever that is. And specifically, right, because your mouth is such a dead giveaway, you should work on the sides of your lineages the most, where you experience the most obvious issues, right? So and usually you would notice that if you get toothaches, very often it's one or two sides that suffers, right? It's not your entire mouth. There are parts of your mouth that get impacted more often than not. Like you may get cavities on the same side very often, but not on the other side, right? And again, it is quite telling because that part of your lineage is problematic, right? So pay attention. Another interesting tidbit that I just wanted to share with you around the diagnostic is this. Usually when two lineages come together, one lineage is more prominent or is stronger than another. And I find it fascinating, right? Like every single misalignment in your mouth is a signifier of something. I'll give you a quick example, right? So when the two teeth meet, right? And then there is the in-between. By the way, you have people that have gaps in the teeth, right? The front teeth, for instance. The people that have a gap in the front teeth, usually it's like when the two sides of the family, and specifically like if it's the top, right, it's on their father's side of the family. If you have a gap in your bottom teeth, it's on your mother's side of the family, right? But usually when there's like a pretty noticeable gap, it is because the two lineages that came together to birth your parent never fully aligned. And usually it's almost like people are living together, but they're not. It doesn't feel like they're one family. It is rare. That's why these gaps in the front teeth are very rare. But it usually signifies families where like the husband and wife didn't quite get along, or they had, maybe they had commitment issues potentially, but somehow like the two lineages never came together. When the lineages are really, really strong and when they really come together, you would very often have a little bit of a different issue. It's almost like when teeth come together so close that like they cross each other a little bit, right? Like it's almost like one above the other, and they're not perfectly solidly connected just with their sides. Interestingly, right? You could see that a lot with your incisors. Incisors are like the front incisors are like the top two teeth on the top, and the two teeth in the front on the bottom. These are the two incisors that are probably the most telling around how did the two lineages of your mom and dad come together. So if you're if you look at your incisors, right, the front teeth on the top that are the largest teeth that you guys have, right? These are essentially like on your dad's side, how like essentially your dad's parents, how they came together, and who brought in a stronger lineage. The tooth that is in the front, if there is such a thing, right? If they're not perfectly aligned, if they're not perfectly side to side and just like even, the tooth that is in the front usually represents the lineage that has the stronger pull, the stronger lineage with more might, more power, etc., right? So if your right front incisor is kind of like hovering above your left front incisor, that means that on your dad's side, his father and the father side of the lineage was way stronger. And that is usually the dad would be the dominating one. And if the left side, like the left front incisor is above and slightly above the right one, that means that on your dad's side of the family, the mother's lineage was stronger, and perhaps she had a stronger personality and she was really the leader of the family, or push the family forward. And the same thing is true on your mom's side of the lineage. And that's why it's kind of fascinating, right? Like sometimes you guys think that you just like your teeth are randomly crooked, but they're not randomly crooked. Every little like aspect of the tooth is a map, right? And just how they're aligning is like a dead giveaway of like strength, how people come together. Usually when the teeth like on one side of your mouth are a little bit haphazard and it's like they're twisted along their axis, that means that the family didn't quite get along. And the family, used to have fights. Very often you would also have this type of misalignment when you have people that were either ostracized from the lineage, like, I don't know, like almost like the prodigal son, like you do something and people like, they're not my daughter anymore, they're not my son, or like, I don't talk to my family. Like things like that, distortions like that. Or for instance, if, I don't know, somebody commits a crime or commits suicide and their family just doesn't want anything to do with them. Or sometimes when somebody's like, I don't know, a drug addict, or somebody, has mental health issues and their lineage is like, well, we don't want to deal with that person. Anybody, like that who's ostracized from the family, they're going to start sticking out of the family tree. And you may start seeing that in your teeth. Like if that is a pattern in your lineage, it's going to feel like one of your teeth is the odd one out. Like they're not part of like the aligned whole, if that makes sense. So all of these like little patterns could be quite fascinating to study on your own teeth. Going back to cavities, you guys don't get cavities randomly. You don't get cavities out of nowhere. Usually it is a sign. But maybe before we even talk about cavities really quickly, do you guys know how sometimes you have this toothache, but it's almost like more of like a tooth sensitivity? And sometimes when you go to the dentist, they'll just tell you, hey, it's the gums, really, it's not the teeth. But it's like you're sensitive, and you could start becoming randomly sensitive in different parts of your life, and then it just disappears. Like you may become sensitive in like a couple of your teeth feel sensitive for like a week or two. By sensitive, I mean they can start reacting to cold or hot temperatures. They may just start bothering you when you're eating, like when you're biting, and you're like, okay, for some reason I'm feeling this tooth over here, and I didn't used to before. And then you're like, okay, is this the beginning of a cavity? Like, am I starting to feel like am I starting to get a toothache? But then 2 weeks after, it may disappear. What the message here is this: there's something that your lineage needs for you to know. It's like it's almost like you've got mail, right? It is a particular part of your lineage, a particular ancestor that is looking to communicate to you. And the only way that they know how to tell you that they want to communicate to you is by sending you a toothache, because that is the part of your body that they're most connected to. So what you should be asking yourself is, what specific tooth is hurting, or teeth, on what side? And first identify, what does this mean about which part of your lineage, what part of your ancestry line this person is from. On your mom's side, on your dad's side, on your mother's mom's or mother's dad's side, you just get particular around like which part, right? Based on the location of the tooth. And then focus in a meditative state. Just close your eyes and thinking about that tooth. Imagine if that tooth was a person and they were trying to tell you something, because they are. What is the message? Because very often our ancestry lines hold blueprints and patterns, almost like reminders. And once we hit a certain age, your ancestry line is going to want to share that reminder with you, whatever that is. It's almost like breadcrumbs. Like our lineages leave breadcrumbs for us so that we don't have to repeat the same mistakes. Usually those breadcrumbs are very strategically placed around the things that there is already a pattern for, meaning your lineage knows that, for instance, in our lineage, we always fail XYZ. I don't know, maybe there is a divorce rate is quite high, or maybe like we wait too long to have children, or maybe we have too many children, or maybe we don't, whatever that is, right? Your ancestors are going to try to send you little breadcrumbs of advice and input when you're starting to achieve certain milestones or getting closer to certain milestones, whether those are age-related or otherwise. And sometimes these random toothaches come because there is a message. And so just learning to listen to those messages can really, really help you avoid a lot of trips to the dentist, as well as just become a lot more aligned. If you feel like you have closed your eyes, you've looked at, your ancestor, that is a tooth, and you're still not getting the message, take out a piece of paper and just write down what they're saying. Don't get out of your own way. Don't overanalyze it. Don't doubt it. Don't try to be like, there's no way I could ever just write down the message from this ancestor that I've never met, because it's not real. If you let yourself receive, you would be surprised what comes through, because your hand knows the answer, because your hand in the same way is connected to the Akashic records. It is connected to the larger field of knowing. And so your hand can definitely write down the answers, as long as your mental, as long as your ego, as long as your intellect gets out of the way and just allows it to do its thing. Okay, so that is around random toothaches. Cavities and root canals, not random. In other words, unless there is a karmic knot or something in your lineage that you are also living through right now that has an impact on a particular area of your body or area of your life that is represented by a particular tooth, it would be impossible for you to develop a cavity there, or especially a root canal. Impossible. Not possible, right? So every single time you have a cavity, every single time you have a root canal, any type of issue, serious issue with a tooth, Always try to understand, what is this karmic knot? What is this thing that I'm living through now? What is the pattern that is coming through for me that I haven't healed? Because if I had healed it, it would not have been a cavity, right? So always ask yourself, what is the bigger message here? What is the deeper knowing here? Every tooth is a messenger. Now we have wisdom teeth, right? It's not random that they're called wisdom teeth. Wisdom teeth, if you will, and actually, let me take a step back, because this is important. There are so many ways to dissect your mouth. There are so many ways to think about your teeth. Again, in the constraints of this episode, I could not possibly give you everything. I may need to write like 3 books on teeth alone. Not that I would, but it's that deep. This topic is this foundational, this deep. When the front teeth at the very, all of your front teeth, whether top or bottom jaw, they have to do with your ancestors that are closest to the present moment. So they could have to do with your mom, your dad, sometimes your grandparents, right? These are the front teeth. Once you start going to the middle teeth, kind of over there, just a little bit in the back, not all the way in the back, kind of like your premolars is what they're called, you would start getting deeper into, usually it's like 3 generations to 7 generations back is your middle teeth. The deeper into your mouth you go, and especially once you get to the wisdom teeth, you go way back into your lineage. Enough so that the wisdom teeth are not randomly called wisdom teeth, but they truly connect you to the entire wisdom pool of that lineage, of that side. So wisdom teeth, a lot of them are only going to show themselves later in life. Once a particular wisdom tooth on a particular side of your family shows itself, that means that not only do you have the full support of that side of the lineage, but you have achieved a particular level of proficiency in the lessons of that lineage. And that's why it's almost like the wisdom tooth is a little bit almost like a gift, if that makes sense, from your ancestors. It's like a recognition. It's like a medal. It's like a golden star on your fridge to signify that you have passed the lessons and you have transcended some karma. Otherwise, the wisdom teeth cannot come through because there are always barriers. Even if the wisdom tooth is showing a little bit, like even if it's not fully out, that means that you have successfully passed a lot of the trials and tribulations associated with that lineage karma. If your wisdom tooth on a particular side of, of your family or in your mouth is not coming out, that means that the lessons of that lineage are still in progress, or you haven't passed them successfully, right? And that means that there's something in the way of your lineage throwing its resource to support you. And usually goes both ways. Like we support our lineages, they support us, right? So if you have all of your 4 wisdom teeth out, that means, and intact by the way, that means that you have full support of all 4 of your lineages at this point in time. The unfortunate truth, of course, is that because of the challenges around brushing the wisdom teeth and the challenges that they create in the molar teeth that are located right next to them, most dentists these days are going to recommend that you pull out the wisdom teeth almost every single time. That would be the recommendation. And while from the perspective of the physical body, this is very sound advice, from the perspective of energy and spirituality, you really want to keep your wisdom teeth as much as possible, for as long as possible, irrespective of, what your dentist tells you, because that is your connection to the wisdom of your ancestors. You may be asking yourself, like, why do I need the wisdom of my ancestors? I'll tell you why. Karma runs in the families. Karmic loops run in families, which means that chances are that the issues that you're faced with in this current incarnation, your ancestry line has already gone through so many flavors, shapes, and sizes of very similar issues in the past. And by the way, they've already made every mistake in the book and they've learned something. And all of those memories are stored in that wisdom teeth, in those wisdom teeth. It would be so much easier for you to pass through life's lessons if you had your wisdom teeth intact. Meaning, decision making could be easier. Replenishing your energy would be easier. Not making the same mistakes would be easier. Transcending ancestral karma would be easier, etc., etc., etc. Evolving at soul level would be easier. All of these things would just become so much smoother for you. It's almost like I going back to going back to intuition. There are so many things that people call intuition. It boggles my mind. Some people call connection to source intuition. Some people call connection to Akashic records intuition. Some people call the wisdom of their body, physical body, intuition. Some people call connection to their guardian angel and spirit guides intuition, etc., etc., etc. Some people, when they are getting hits from wisdom teeth, and those insights that come from wisdom teeth, also think it's intuition. In other words, there are many types and shapes and sizes and facets of intuition, of which ancestral intuition and ancestral memory is some of the strongest kinds, and it is the type of intuition that is perhaps most pertinent to planet Earth, because 100% of your ancestors lived upon the face of this beautiful planet. Chances are they already know exactly how it feels and exactly how to problem solve in this third dimensional world, right? So our wisdom teeth, again, I cannot overestimate and overemphasize how important it is for you to keep as many as your wisdom teeth for as long as possible. Try to preserve them. Like if you, because sometimes I know that the recommendations from dentists is like, oh, just pull out the wisdom tooth even before those teeth ever see the face of light, like the face of day. Like they may still be under your gum, and like some dentists are already recommending to pull them out. Please, for your own sanity, for your own sake, preserve them as much as you can. The question that I'm getting from the collective is, what do I do if I'm already done? Like there is no more, that wisdom tooth is gone. I will tell you this, the wisdom tooth is gone. That means that connection is temporarily broken. The connection with that lineage, that side of your family, is temporarily broken. And the wisdom, that their collective wisdom, their collective memories are not currently at your disposal. They're not currently at your fingertips. So you need to restore that connection. So in a meditative state, you would close your eyes and you would imagine that there is a golden cord of light that is descending straight from the point where that wisdom tooth used to be. So in the spot that this wisdom tooth used to be, imagine there's like a thread of golden light. And imagine that thread, one side of that thread is connected to your jaw, and you would want to restore that connection, like almost like reweave it as if you were a weaver. And the other side of this thread is connected to the founding couple of that lineage. And, it stretches through time and space to like the hearts of those two people. And that is how you restore that connection. Once that connection is established, right? Again, this golden thread between your wisdom tooth on one of the sides of your face, in one of your jaws, and then essentially you draw that golden thread into the hearts of the founding couple of the lineage. The next thing that you want to do is you want to imagine that there is golden light streaming back and forth, right? That there is this connectivity, that there is this almost electricity coursing back and forth, because that is how you really know that you are exchanging information and it's not just a dead thread, it's not just a dead cord. And the third thing you can do is expand the diameter of that cord, of that thread of light that connects you and that lineage. You can imagine duplicating it, like doubling it in size and might, tripling it if that feels right? All of these things would build that connection. The connection, by the way, to the different lineages that you have is not purely for wisdom, but it's also for an energy exchange. Very often, especially if your wisdom tooth came up, right? Like it was fully out. That is a sign that that lineage wants to support you. That is a sign that that side of your lineage is going to give you anything, meaning that the resources of that lineage are at your disposal. Anything you want can and shall be yours. You need only ask. And so if that was the case for you, do ask for things from that side of the lineage, because they want to help. They want to support you. They want to assist you, because what helps you also helps them. And so take the sign that your wisdom tooth at one point came out as an open invitation to start asking for assistance and help from that side of your family. Okay, so that's on the wisdom teeth. Veneers, tough one, because I know some people really love the Hollywood smile and it's really, really challenging. Now, I will tell you this. Removing the root when you have a root canal is probably the worst thing that you can do to your tooth, because that is when it's kind of like if you think of your teeth as little trees, right, that connect you back into your ancestry lines. Once you cut out the root of the tree is essentially dead, right? So the root canal trees, the root canal teeth are kind of dead connections. So you want to restore those connections. If you had root canals done in the past, again, imagine there are these threads of light in the same way that we just built one for the wisdom teeth. Imagine that you're connecting the hollow space, the empty space, where there is nothing, where there used to be a living root or the living nerve of your tooth. Imagine that it is being rebuilt. And again, it connects you back to your lineage so that your lineage, your connection can become stronger so that there can be more communication back and forth. That's that. The veneers are not as bad, quote unquote, but at the same time, right? Think of this as like when you put veneers on, they have to remove the enamel. And they have to like file the teeth, right? So there's a lot less of that tooth that is going to be left before they apply the fake veneer on top of it. So essentially what you're doing is you're diminishing your surface level area, and you're lowering your ability to, again, receive communication from your ancestors, receive communication from the universe. Not to mention that the veneers that they put on top, that type of material that they use, prevents information from passing into the actual tooth. And so it's almost like it creates like this unfavorable vacuum. So it's actually not really good for you from the energy perspective. Now, you're informed. You're all living on a planet of free will. Again, from the spiritual perspective, veneers are not ideal, but the choice is yours per usual. Just know that think of like the tree, right? Maybe you're not cutting the root, but if you're cut off and like shaved off half of the bark of the tree, is the tree really alive anymore? Does it have the same foliage, if you will? Like, no, it's not, right? And so that is kind of like what's happening to your tooth when you embark on the veneer game. In other words, preserve your natural teeth as much as you can, if you can, whenever you can, right? Don't pull them out unless you absolutely have to. And also between veneers and Invisalign, choose Invisalign all the time, right? Because that is going to naturally align your teeth instead of hiding and masking and cosmetic procedures that don't really change how the energy flows. By the way, by aligning your teeth, you help your lineage as well, ironically, because it goes both ways, right? Energy is funny. Everything is so interconnected that, the domino effect can be created anywhere. If your teeth are not perfectly aligned on one side of your, side of your jaw, and, you are Invisalign, all of a sudden, all of your teeth are like perfect, picture perfect, it is going to impact the karma of your lineage in the best way, because it's like the communication goes both ways, right? Your lineage sends communication to your teeth send communication back to your lineage. All of a sudden, if they're all straight, the communication that your lineage is going to receive back is that, look, there is positive change. There's less karma, right? There is that relief, right? So it goes both ways. I actually do recommend aligning your teeth if you feel called, if you feel like there's a need to. I don't know if this is too much information at this point, but I'll quickly tell you nonetheless, right? Because there's also the diagnosis of, like, there is a way to diagnose karma by which tooth is experiencing pain or a cavity right now at this time. I don't know if you guys know it, but so when the sacral, you probably don't know it. I know that you don't know it, so let's start there. So when their sacral knowledge, the sacral science, I don't know if science is even the right word here, when the sacral, probably knowledge is the better word, around teeth was alive, the teeth were numbered. And in some countries, they're still numbered this way, but not in every country. Essentially, you guys know they have 32 teeth, so 16 and 16 on each of your jaws. And so essentially, right, if you think about how many belong to each lineage, it would be 8 per lineage. Here's how you should think about it. All your teeth are numbered. So if you look at your like front, maybe I'll just use the top jaw as an example because the bottom jaw is the same exact thing, right? So if you split your jaw in the very middle, right, like right in the middle, like if you drew like a line through your nose, so to say, right, you would be able to split your top jaw and your bottom jaw straight in the middle into the left side and the right side. Each of these sides is going to have 8 teeth. So the front incisors, think of them as having the numerical value 1. So do you have 2 teeth on the front jaw, 2 front incisors that have the numerical value of 1. The 2 teeth after that have the numerical value 2. The 2 teeth after that, your canines, have the numerical value 3. The 2 teeth after that have the numerical value 4. And then 5, 6, 7, and 8. So your wisdom teeth have the numerical value 8 because they're the 8th from the center. Does that make sense, right? So you start with 1, and if you went to the left, it would be 1 through 8, with the 8th being the wisdom tooth in the back, and 1 being your top front incisor, the biggest tooth that you have, that would be a 1. The same mathematics exists and is correct, for all 4 sides of your jaw, right? So essentially, you have the same numerical frequency, 1 through 8, 4 times in your mouth. For those of you that know I love numerology, and for those of you that have listened to my numerology podcast before, you kind of already have deeper understanding of what the different facets represent, like what the different numbers represent. So when you have a toothache, you should first calculate what is the number of that tooth, 1 through 8, in which you're having trouble. And dependent on that, there is a correspondence between the tooth and the karmic knot. You may be able to trace back this pain to what is the reason for that ache and what is the reason for that pain. I will very quickly give you like a rundown of 1 through 8, because at some point we're going to have to finish this episode. Don't want to go for 4 hours here. Just again, I'm going to attempt to help you fix your karmic situations by trying to understand the root cause. So if you are having a cavity or a root canal or any pain in the tooth that has a numerical value of 1, these are just, again, your top incisors and your your 2 top incisors and your 2 bottom top incisors. Does that make sense? Front incisors. Sorry. This terminology, man. I wish I just had like a visual aid to just show you which teeth I mean. The 4 teeth in the front, top and bottom, these ones have the numerical value of 1. If you have issues in these front teeth, that is 1 in numerology represents divine masculine. So very often that is an issue around self-concept, self-confidence, an issue around finding your own path, finding your own way, as opposed to following into the blueprint of society. That is your inner critic issue is going to be here. Lack of self-belief is going to be here. So everything around the divine masculinity and the wounding of the divine masculinity is going to give you, in your lineage and for you personally, is going to give you a cavity in one of these front 4 teeth. Then the 4 teeth over, so they're also the incisors, but the ones going a little bit deeper into the jaw, right? Those have the numerical value of 2, and they represent the femininity in your lineage. They represent the women, right? Very often, if you have cavity there, it's either relationship issues, familial drama, karma, trauma, etc. Whether that is between parents and children, between husband and wife, between brother and sister, it could be like relationship issues. It could be issues around emotions. That is also the realm of the 2. Any emotions that you're not able to process, any emotions that you're refusing to deal with, are going to give you cavities and aches in these teeth. Three are the canines, the top and bottom, those 4 teeth. Those are actually so remember, 3 in numerology is divine alchemy. It's the masculine and the feminine coming together to build something better. Very often the canines are actually have to do with how well the lineage is able to fend for itself. It's almost like your ability to protect yourself and your family is going to be in the 3rd teeth. Your ability to impact change in your life and the life of other people. Your ability to provide for yourself and others. Your ability to have a good life from the financial perspective, like have a good home, have the food on the table, have some disposable income. Like all of these are going to be like, it's almost like not quite stability, but the minor alchemical number of 3 is all about transformation, right? So getting from point A to point B, but it doesn't have to be like bigger than life things. It's a little bit like closer to home. Like it's your ability and your lineage's ability to achieve goals, like smaller goals, like having some savings. Parts of it are also going to have to be to deal with wealth accumulation, right? So those are going to be the canines. The teeth over, like the next teeth over, they're called premolar teeth. There are 2 premolar teeth on each side of your jaw and 3 molar teeth. So teeth number 4, right? If they have the numerical value 4. The 4th tooth from the center. That is your stability, your ability to build either something for the long haul, like something that is predictable. So like it's not the rental house, it's the family estate. It's not something that is fleeting. It's like a career, and it's all about building something in the physical. It's all about being the ability to grow roots as a lineage, right? Did your lineage experience a healthy relationship with building wealth, with material possessions, with building things for the long haul, including familial relationships that last, by the way? Although 4 is not strictly relationships, but 4 is all about stability in the physical. It's all about the energy of the earth in some way, right? It's predictable systems, and it is also how you come across in the society. So 4 is also the reputation. The next one's over, all about harmony, and that is harmony within and without. This is all about having a cozy home. This is about all kinds of comfort. This is including soul comfort, if that makes sense. So the physical comfort in your life, as well as do you have the harmony inside, right? So that's when we start getting into the higher planes a little bit, and maybe even spirituality. Truly harmonious lineages, they don't just grow in one facet of existence. They have to be a little bit more deliberate, right? It's, there needs to be health, there needs to be wealth, there needs to be spirituality, there needs to be love, like good things emotionally. There needs to be mental stimulation as well. Like, so all of these things need to come together. And if one or more areas of your life is lacking, when you're like, for instance, too much into your career and there's not enough family, or you're only in the family and you're not following your path and doing things that you're supposed to do in life for self-actualization, then the 5th tooth, or one of your 5th teeth, may start getting cavities and root canals, etc., right? When you're not on the path, that would be a 5. 6 is all kinds of negative karma around, I don't know, I would call it the debts, all of the debts. Anytime that, and any kinds of distortions, like large energetic distortions, any kinds of toxic patterns within your lineage, whether that is alcoholism, I don't know, drug addictions, smoking, whether that is gambling, like whatever runs in your family, all of these things, black magic, oh my God, is the 6th teeth. The 6th tooth. Envy, like malicious intent. Oh my gosh, murder, actually, as morbid as that is all in the 6th tooth. And, kind of like crimes against humanity are all in the 6th tooth. But again, does it have to be so? I mean, if you develop a cavity in the 6th tooth, doesn't mean that, your lineage has issues around like crimes against humanity. That is, I think, is probably like on the harder side of that karma. Just know that there is a karmic debt. If you have a cavity or, you need a root canal in the 6th tooth, know that there's like, it's karmic payback, essentially, right? There's something that you owe, or your lineage owes to the universe or others. And that is the way that this debt is going to be paid. Sometimes it is by taking a tooth. The seventh tooth, the molar tooth, right, almost like in the back of your mouth. This is going back to purpose, actually, as well. So it's one of it is a divine masculine energy, but it has to do with alignment, feeling on the path, being on the path. But because it's also in the back, it has to do a lot with realigning the direction of your entire lineage. Sometimes when you start developing cavities and issues with those teeth, is because you're not entirely connected. You're disconnected. That is the number one reason why you would develop a cavity in the seventh tooth. Disconnected from your family, disconnected from your planet, disconnected from yourself sometimes, right? Not aligned, because the seventh chakra, if you will, right? And the seventh tooth is connection to source. It's that feeling of interconnectedness. Anytime you're feeling disconnected, anytime you're feeling misaligned, especially over time, right? Like that the seventh tooth suffers. And the eighth is wisdom. So being disconnected from your lineage, that's what's really going to impact your wisdom teeth. If you're not, honoring your ancestors, if you don't think about them, if you don't talk to them, if you don't pray to them, if you're not connected, don't honor them, don't cherish some of the things that they passed on to you, that is going to be the wisdom tooth issues, trauma, drama. Okay, these are kind of like, how do you diagnose what's going on? I will tell you this. You can significantly help your teeth, and you can have the most harmonious relationship with dental care and not have too many issues, or have as few issues as is possible, if you start working on clearing and cleansing your lineages. That is like my number one healthcare tip as it relates to your oral hygiene and your teeth, the care of your teeth, is work on your lineage. Work on offloading some of that dark karma. How do you do that? Remember how I said you have 4? Depending, like some of you may choose to work on all 4. That would be commendable. But even if you just work on 1, that is already going to be outstanding. By the way, you would notice, right, that so the color of your teeth, like the whiter your teeth are, the more potential your lineage has. Actually, potential for light, potential for growth, potential for development. You would also notice that if your teeth are yellowing, or if they're becoming darker, they're not going to become darker evenly. So if you're trying to figure out what side of your lineage you need to work on first, do a quick diagnostic of your mouth and see which teeth are more yellow, or sometimes they're a little bit gray, but like they're less white than the others, on what side of your face. Based on that, diagnose which side of your lineage, mothers, fathers, on which side of them needs the most work. And then once you select the lineage that you believe needs the most work, again, what you need to watch out for are the teeth that are not as white and the teeth that are not as even. These two, and the teeth that are less aligned, the least aligned. That is the lineage that requires the most work. This is the part of your mouth that is going to give you the most issues if you don't address it over time. The most that's going to be the part of your mouth that is going to require the most dentistry work done on it. So here's what you do. First, you do the diagnostic in a meditative state. You close your eyes. You imagine the lineage as a row of people. It's almost like they're standing in a row, right? And you're looking at them. First thing you should notice is, what color is your lineage? Is it white, black, or a shade of gray? Because that's mostly like, essentially what you need to estimate is how much light does your lineage hold? Usually, if you already diagnose that lineage has kind of like somewhat crooked teeth, or, like maybe yellows a little bit more, like it has issues, most likely that is not going to be the bright and shiny lineage where everybody's just glowing like a little angel. Most often it's going to feel like there is like almost like a layer of sediment or some type of dust. It's almost like these poor people are covered in dust. And that is a big, 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 big invitation for you to help your lineage out. There are two ways that you can do that. When you're doing lineage healing, there are two energies that are going to help you out the most: the energy of the Divine Mother and the energy of the Divine Father. The energy of the Divine Mother always comes from the healing waters or the holy waters. The energy of the Divine Father almost comes from the holy light or the healing light of the sun in this particular case, because that is the proxy for light that we have in this time-space reality. So if your lineage is in the gray area, or there is a lot of darkness that you're seeing, one of your lineages, here's what you do. First, you imagine a mighty river, white river of light, a proxy of Divine Mother's womb, if you will. And then you invite your lineage, one by one, to come into the river and wash themselves. And if they don't do it, you can come into the river and wash yourself. And usually once you start washing yourself, you're going to start seeing others joining you. And it's just so beautiful. And so essentially you would just imagine, right, that all the dirt, the debris is coming off of your lineage and of the people in the lineage, and they're becoming cleaner and cleaner. And there is this glow coming from the, that their skin is starting to emanate. And then imagine there's sun in the sky that is shining upon your lineage as well. And it's almost like the sun is not just giving away the sunshine or the rays, right? It's almost like it's showering your lineage, the people, your ancestors, with this white light or golden light. And they're getting this shower from the top as well, from the Divine Father. And again, the rest of the dirt and debris that still remains on their bodies, on their faces, is being washed away by the sun. And you can imagine how they're stretching their little hands and their little feet towards the sun. And the sun is just transcending all the darkness, all of the dirt and debris. And, essentially should just invite those energies until your lineage and all the people in that lineage become really clean and white and pretty. And at the before and after is going to be pretty dramatic. So even if you do this, you're going to notice that just like little practices like this are going to start making a difference for your lineage. I'm not saying that if you had like a tooth with a pretty big cavity, all of a sudden that cavity is going to be reversed. One thing that does not happen to teeth is like the reversal. The reversal is really hard. It's a lot easier to preserve. It's a lot harder to reverse, if at all possible. So once you transcend that karma, it more like looks into the future, right? It would prevent future cavities from forming, and it would slow down any type of decay, if any, in the tooth. It's not going to bring a tooth that somebody else pulled out already, right? Magic is real, but not that real. All right, so that's what I wanted to tell you. I feel there is a question from the collective around teeth, so I'm here to receive the question as long as it serves the group of listeners today. So the question is, you have mentioned that there are many ways to dissect the mouth, right? And even the first tooth, despite the fact that it has this numeric frequency 1, it can mean a lot of different things. So when I get a toothache, how can I be 100% sure like what it means? Thank you for the question. It's actually a very interesting question because, oh my gosh, it's a little bit of a complicated question. When you get a particular toothache, it may mean a few things. So it may mean a particular message from an ancestor, like a particular message or issue with a particular person in your lineage. Again, very often the front teeth are your parents and grandparents. Things that are in the back are way back when, like somebody, further down the line. So if you're starting to get toothache, it may just be that a connection with a particular person in that lineage needs to be explored. It could also mean, by the way, depending on the tooth, that your lineage is calling your attention to a particular part of your body that needs special attention. Like maybe there's something like a suboptimal process that is starting there. Your ancestors just really need you to know, because this is like, it's almost like a language, like a toothache. The map of toothaches is a language, and it is a communication system and a communication tower, a communication process that your lineage, your ancestors have with you for the lack of telepathy. Or widespread telepathy, shall I say, right? So they have to pass on this messages somehow. So they would usually do that through toothaches, believe it or not. And the third, possible scenario here is that, there is some karma that needs to be cleansed from your lineage. That's why a particular tooth hurts, right? So unfortunately, the answer to your question is not as straightforward. However, every single pain in your body, including the one in your mouth, is a messenger. So one thing that I invite you to do is this. If you are unsure what a particular ache is here to tell you, write down on a piece of paper, what is the message that my body is trying to deliver to me, or this particular tooth is trying to deliver to me? And then allow your hand to write down the answer. And you're going to thank me later, because this could be the single most enlightening self-care technique that you do. Because every tooth has a message. Think of them as a messenger, like little messengers in your body. And because they're so connected to your ancestors and your ancestry, and they're also very sensitive, right? That's why teeth are so sensitive to even temperatures when you drink hot or cold things, right? Because they are little antennas, they're little receivers, right? And because of that, right, they would receive information before a lot of your other organs receive them. And that is why, if you get really good at decoding those messages, that just takes you to a whole other level around understanding reality, this time-space reality, understanding the planet, understanding yourself, understanding life, all of it. Well, that's it really. This was almost like longer than I originally intended. I hope this was enjoyable. I hope this was helpful to you guys. If you're watching this on YouTube, please let me know if you would like more videos, and more topics around your physical body in the future. And if you would like to nominate a specific topic, do let me know in the comments as well. I am under This is Maria with a Y, Mariya on YouTube. So come say hi. Alrighty, my darlings, I'm sending you a big virtual hug. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.